you're home with kids, homemade cards, especially if they can't get out to see grandma and grandpa or, other people in the neighborhood, especially elderly people. Like if the kids can send them homemade cards, I think that's really cute because everybody likes to get that, little pick me up in their mailbox. Um, Another thing, and I know Felix was on before me, and he even suggested going through old photo albums. It's a great time to either organize your old photos or just drag out the old photo albums, the ones that you have in the closet from mom and dad and everybody, and go over them with the kids and let them see what life was like when you were a kid and what it was like when you graduated high school and things like that. I think that's really cool. And along the same lines, what a lot of people are doing is doing Zoom interviews with like other generations or siblings where kids can go on Zoom and Zoom with grandma and grandpa or aunts and uncles and ask family stories and really become like genealogists and do the family history based on stories, and you can videotape them while you're Zooming. So there's a place on Zoom where you can just do the video. So I think that's really great too, because how many of us don't know our history and wish we had asked our mom and dad questions? My mom and dad are passed, and so I didn't really get to know, their stories. My one sister is actually doing the genealogy now, and it's super interesting. So that's a great way to record family history, and what a great project to keep the kids busy. One of my other friends hosted a dinner party just for the people that are in her home. And what they did was they cooked, I think it was Italian, and they pretended that they were at their favorite Italian restaurant, and she set the table with all the good china and the good tablecloths like it was a special occasion. And they all actually got dressed up and had dinner together and pretended they were at this beautiful restaurant. So that would be kind of cute. You can also access anything that you want online, museums all over the world. Through Google Earth and Google Arts and Culture, you can actually virtually tour the national parks in the United States. You can go into the Grand Canyon online, all those things, and it's really a cool way to pass the time. Another thing that is really cool is there's a lot of virtual tours of museums, even the Louvre in France or some parts of the Vatican. You can also do amusement parks. How many roller coasters that are really famous on the amusement parks across the world, they have virtual video rides on YouTube, so you can actually go on the coasters. That would be really cool to do with the kids. You can learn a new language. How many of us want to tour a foreign country and don't know the language? And now we have plenty of time every day to do that. And there's an app called Duolingo, Duolingo, Duolingo.com, and it's actually an app that you can work through that teaches you a second language or foreign languages. And one of the things that I love to do is vision boards. And I think while we are sequestered, it's a really great time, even just from the psychological perspective, if we can visualize our future and plan our future. Because I know a lot of us during this time have really reprioritized and reevaluated what's really important to us. And so as a result of that, our futures may have some things in them that they didn't a month ago that we want to do, and they may have some things that we thought we wanted to do eliminated, right? Our priorities are shifting, we're changing, we're going through a lot of awakenings and illuminations and really evaluating. I think that's the lesson of impermanence that the COVID-19 is teaching us. We are all impermanent on this earth. And so as a result of that, we're taking the things we value more seriously, and we're taking our time more seriously. So I love to do vision boards because I think that if we can see the future and what we really want to do, whether that's a career move or a material possession or something that we want to travel to, it's a really cool thing. So the other thing is make a quarantine playlist. All upbeat songs that you really love. And when you're feeling down, just, play your quarantine playlist. And I think that could be a really great way to pass some time. So those are my suggestions. I know we came on a little late. We were having some trouble with the feed. So I am Georgia Rose from Zencuda. And usually I do the Soul Space podcast at 6:30 on Thursday nights. But today I am luckily and happily doing quarantine life on Govs. So if you like what I'm saying, like what I do, you can check me out the Zencuda Soul Space on Thursdays at 6:30. So just to recap for those of you who are just joining us, a couple short list of things to do while you're quarantined, which I like to refer to as sequestered, because I feel like quarantine is kind of like, a little scary. So I've been telling everyone I'm just sequestered. So my favorites are all the virtual things we can do online, all the national amusement parks, world amusement parks. You can actually on YouTube take virtual rides on their roller coasters. Isn't that fun to do with the kids? We have the Metropolitan Opera has that on demand. You can listen to opera anytime you want. We've got learning to dance apps, Steezy Studio, Steezy Studio, and Salsa Rhythm. There are apps that you can actually do on your TVs or phones or whatever, and you can actually take dancing lessons. So if you're home quarantined with your spouse, wouldn't that make them happy, right? When you finally get to go out, you'll be on the dance floor. Photo albums, organizing them, bringing them out to have some reminiscing, hosting special dinners and actually getting dressed up like you're going to a restaurant and pretending you're at your favorite place and making their food and all that. Arts and culture on google.com. You can actually see art from all over the world, from every museum, the Louvre, everywhere. If you love trivia, there's a trivia app called quickfreak.com and Quiz Freak. I'm sorry, QUIZFREAK.com. It is all kinds of trivia questions if you guys are into that. You can go online and take virtual tours of every zoo in the country, aquariums, amusement parks, the Grand Canyon, national parks. What a great way to homeschool the kids by taking them on beautiful trips and you don't ever have to leave your house. Duolingo, DUOLINGO.com. It's an app that you can learn a second language with if you're preparing when the restrictions are lessened to go to a foreign country. You can learn the language. Make a beautiful vision board so that you have something to fixate on when you come away. Sing-alongs, make a quarantine playlist that picks you up, right? I love the idea of recording family history, interviewing grandma, grandpa, aunts, and uncles about their family history. It's a great project for the kids to do. You can do that on Zoom and hit the button to record so that you'll always have the video. I miss my mom and dad every day. They've passed over, and I don't really know all the stories. I wish I had asked them more. Every Ivy League college in the nation is now got all of their courses online, and you can actually drop in on and audit any of their courses. So just go on whatever college, Harvard, whatever, and look for that, and you can actually drop into a free class in an Ivy League college. So now today what I want to talk about is books. And for those of you who are not readers, one of the great things they have is Audible. You can actually have any book on Audible right now, and if you have Alexa in your home or any device, you can listen to the book, instead of music and really learn a lot. So books have always played a really big part in my life. I have some here I'm going to talk to you about. And I wanted to do this today. It actually just came to me about 10 minutes before the broadcast because I said, what really has inspired me throughout my life and motivated me and kept me really upbeat? And a lot of times it was a great story, whether you're watching a movie or you're reading something, how awesome is it when you get carried away into another place in your mind and you feel like you're with that character or that person, right? So a lot of these books are quick reads. Some of them aren't even books you read at all, but books that you consult every day for those of you who aren't big readers. This is one of my personal favorites. I know that Doreen Virtue is a little bit of a controversial character right now. Doreen Virtue was a New Age personality, and since then she's kind of gone into a different frame of her life. But you can't underestimate her writings and teachings, and some of them are really amazing. This book I picked up when I was in a place in my life and really needed inspiration. And you can get any one of these books online. This is the Daily Guidance from Your Angels. It's 365 angelic messages for every day of the year. And it's really cool because every day has another inspirational message from an angel. And you can see mine is a little bit worn, but nothing compared to some of my books are so worn. I read them all the time. I actually kept this on my night table for years, and I would open it every day and read the passage. And some days, I have to admit, it actually got me through on those days when I didn't have the psychological flexibility to really make my own mind motivated, and I needed a little help. This is a great book. Actually, it's called, I know you're going to see things backwards on camera because I'm using an iPad. This is called Simple Abundance, a Daybook of Comfort and Joy from Sarah Brethnock. this book was so popular about 10 years ago that two different friends gave me the same book on different occasions. And this particular book is just a beautiful, beautiful book. And it was very comforting to me. I was given at a time of great challenge in my life, and it's a daily reader. You just pick every day you can read a different page, chapter. It goes by date. And so it just really, is very inspirational and brings your mind to some place that occupies it, instead of us being in the anxiety and the nervous tension of every day right now. And one of the things about anxiety is you can't be anxious if you are present in the moment. We get anxious when we're worried about the future or the past. If we stay in the moment, we're never anxious. So books are a great way to kind of bring us out of that headspace of anxiety. This is a classic. It was also a movie. If you don't like to read, watch the movie. It's Conversations with God. This is a classic for me. It came out several years ago. Neil Donald Walsch wrote the book. It also comes with a companion book called Meditations from Conversations with God. This is such a great book if you want something that's kind of a light read and sort of like an everyman type thing. It's a book about, for those of you, I think you probably get the movie on Prime or wherever on TV, Amazon, but it's just such a great book about this gentleman who's at a detrimental point in his life. Everything's going wrong for him, and he starts to have conversations with God and where it brings him. And it's just a really beautiful book. And in the book, he's really talking to God. And then the companion meditations from Conversations with God are basically just little things, and it has pictures in the book. Like this one is on self-esteem, and it's kind of like poetic and things to think about, and just a very quick, easy read, and really just puts your mind at ease and lets you feel like you're not alone in the world. Like you don't have to be so anxious or frightened. There's so much fear out there now. And that particular conversation with God, for me, that book really opened up the way I pray and the way I really feel my angels and God around me in times of stress. This book, The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie, this book is also a daily meditations, and it's really a book made for codependency. A lot of people who are struggling with alcoholism or any kind of addiction, this is a great book for them. I use this book as a Bible, as a book that I really read a lot. I remember bringing this on a vacation with me where I had to escape some things, and I read this the whole time and on the plane, and it just inspired me so much. I actually gave the book that I had to someone else. It had all my markings in it, and I gave it to a friend of mine when they were battling addiction. And this is a one I bought after that, so it doesn't have anything written in it. But there were so many passages in this that just completely inspired me. And for those of us not in addiction, what this did for me was, because I read it, I was not in addiction or anything, but I was having trouble letting go of some things in my life. And the passages in the book made me gain a different perspective on how to do that. Like it gave me a different perspective on how I should be thinking in order to let go of some really dark things that were holding me in the past that no longer served me. So The Language of Letting Go, Daily Meditations from Melody Beattie. If any of you are having trouble moving forward in your life, that is a fabulous book for that. And then this book, I know if John Minette is watching, he loves this book. And The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. This is a great book. There's also a movie, The Secret. And basically another quick read, because a lot of spiritual influencers weigh in here on different ways to bring attraction into your life. If you're looking to manifest anything, change something in your life that is, you want to bring a law of attraction, positivity into your life, this is a great book for that. That book I read probably, I want to say like when it came out. I don't know what year it came out, but this book I read quite a long time ago, 2006. I was going to say 2008. I read that book in 2006, and at the time, I utilized the philosophies in it for my career, and I attracted a lot of abundance and wealth to myself through positive mental attitude at the time. Another Doreen Virtue book, Archangels 101. For any of you looking for support from your angels, this is a really super quick read. The whole book is a little over 100 pages. And basically it describes every archangel, their color, what they stand for. Like Archangel Michael is the protector, etc. So if any of you want to bring angelic energy or angels into your life, this is definitely the book to do that. This is a beautiful book by Richard Bach. Richard Bach was the author who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I believe, yes. And you can see a lot of my books are very weathered. I read a lot and I take a lot from books. My books are usually underlined and, all kinds of things in them. But this is a beautiful book. If you've ever felt alone and lonely, this book really, it's called The Bridge Across Forever. It's a true love story of actually, I believe, how he met his wife. And it's just really beautiful about, true soul connection and love. And, some people say twin flame energy. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful love story that inspires hope for people who maybe don't have love and how to find it. And this book really made me believe in love, I have to say. It did. After a very bad breakup several years ago, this book restored my faith in love. And that is The Bridge Across Forever from Richard Bach. Very inspirational, just beautifully written. This book was given to me by someone I dated. It's called Threads by Nell Gavin. And it's just a great book about reincarnation and about, different lives. And it's written from a very strange perspective. It's a really offbeat book. It's a, work of, it's not true. It's just, a story. But really interesting take on reincarnation and people who reincarnate. So if you're interested in anything like that, that's great. And that brings me to the expert on reincarnation, who is Brian Weiss. And Dr. Brian Weiss, this one is called Messages from the Master. The book before this was called Many Lives, Many Masters. And it's the premier book about reincarnation and many lives and soul retrieval and past life. The story goes, Dr. Brian Weiss was a psychiatrist, and he used to do hypnosis and things like that, and therapy through hypnosis. And what happened was he started to have patients that were remembering things under hypnosis that couldn't have happened in their current lifetime. And so he went from being a doctor of science to someone who really believed in reincarnation and was able to, through hypnotizing people through soul regression past lives, able to help them uncover blocks and live a better life in this lifetime by clearing karma and things that they brought in with them from past lives. So he would regress people to know their past lives. And oftentimes what he found was that people who are in our lifetime now actually were people who are in past lives with us, and that we have soul groups that travel together. Super, super interesting stuff. Too deep to go into on this broadcast. But it was all about love and how we carry love through the soul, and how no matter what lifetime we're in, the soul remains. So Messages from the Masters, and then the book previous to this was Many Lives, Many Masters from Brian Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. This book is like the past life Bible for those of us who are spiritualists and practice psychic phenomenon and things like that, and anything in the occult, New Age. It's just, everybody knows Brian Weiss in that field. This book is called Animal Speak. Again, Ted Andrews, amazing, amazing writer. This is a book that actually talks about your spirit animal. And this is like a Bible written. I keep this on the shelf all the time. When I see clients, sometimes they'll tell me, I keep seeing a certain animal, or I'm dreaming about elephants, or I, keep seeing horses when I meditate. And this book is actually like a encyclopedia where you look up the animal and you can tell what your spirit animal means and what spirit animal totems mean. Throughout my spiritual journey, I've had many different spiritual animals come to me, and whether it's in meditation or in dreams, and each time that animal had something significant to show me. Like horses mean freedom. The blue jay, I often see blue jays, sometimes not even in season, in my yard, and that blue jay totem comes in to show me that we can bridge the gap between two worlds. So each animal has a significance in life, and a really interesting book about that. This is a fun book. I actually bought this on the discount table at the bookstore. It's called Sacred Places. It's sites of spiritual pilgrimage from Stonehenge to Santiago. I just love this book because it's all the places that I hope to visit one day. You know, Chaco Canyon, Uluru in Australia, and just all the places that are, you know, in the grids of, if you ever watch that TV show Ancient Aliens on Gaia, Mecca, and it just has some beautiful photographs of all these beautiful sacred places. And sometimes I take this book out. This is the Temples of Malta. Sometimes I take this book out when I just want to travel in my mind. You know, I just want to do something mindless and learn. And I'll pick a place and just read the few pages about it. You know, very sacred places across the universe that are a little off the beaten track. This is Reims Le Chateau. You know, and it has all different stories about it. And then we've got some classic things that, you know, people who are into New Age things and soul work and all this stuff. There's like books that we always, I'm just going to share this on my page. There are books that we always go to. They're like our go-to books. And so, just give me a sec while I share this. So it's really a good idea if you are on the New Age path or looking to be more spiritual. It's really a great idea to get certain books that almost become like the elementary school books, like the books you're going to keep going back to time and time again. And one of the go-to books for everybody, this is like your basic book. Everyone reads this when they first start to get spiritual, and it's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the Four Agreements are just, it's practical guide to personal freedom. And basically, the Four Agreements are pretty basic. And when you read them, you will really get an idea of the path to spiritual growth and freedom. Again, easy read, not a lot of, you know, words in the book, but boy, the words that are in this book are pack a wallop. They will change your life. So this is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. All of these you can get on Audible or audiobooks. But if you're really looking for something that is wisdom and is a book that will change your life, this will change your life in probably a couple of afternoons when you really start to think about it. This is another book that a friend gave to me at a very, you know, a lot of my books have inscriptions from friends. I went through a really tough, challenging times in my life, the beginning of last decade, and a lot of inspirational teachers came. And this book was from my friend Lorraine, who is a woman ahead of her time. She's a meditator and she does healing touch and all these things. And this is Joyce Meyer, Beauty for Ashes. And this book is so beautiful. It's really about Joyce Meyer. If you ever watch her on TV, she's an evangelist. She writes in this book her stories of triumph and where she came from, and that we can find beauty even in repulsive things, and which has definitely been my experience. And this is just a really inspirational read, especially for a time when we're in this quarantine, this pandemic. This book can really, really inspire you. And I'm going to just read you my inscription from my friend Lorraine, because I think maybe it'll inspire somebody today. And this was September 23rd, 2011. Dear Georgia, people's behavior can change and wear at our relationships, but through God's grace, you can choose to keep yourself strong, spiritual, and healthy. So for those of you who are sequestered at home with people that are maybe getting on your nerves, just live inside yourself and know that you can find beauty from ashes. This book is called The Invitation, and basically this is just a poem, and it's from Oriah Mountain Dreamer. And you'll see a lot of memes and things on Facebook with, and I just gathered these books in the last 10 minutes before the broadcast. These are just my personal faves. I have an extensive library in my house because that's how I learn. I didn't go to school for a lot of my wisdom and education. I taught myself. And this is a poem that she wrote that actually is oftentimes you see it quoted on Facebook in like memes and stuff, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful poem. And when I first read it, I just couldn't believe it because it was exactly how I felt. And what she does is she pulls the poem apart in each chapter. She she discusses another part of the poem. And so I'm going to read the poem because I think it's so appropriate for where we are at in our lives right now, because I think a lot of us are being brought back to basics. And so don't look on this time of being in solitude or being in quiet as a negative. Really make it a positive, and let's have fun with your children that you don't get to spend time with, or your spouse or a partner, or do things that you don't normally get to do, and broaden your horizon. And so her poem is really about what is important in our life and what we really value. And it's called The Invitation by Orion Mountain Dreamer. And it says, "It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, and if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can just disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed our children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in those empty moments. So this book is so beautiful because it pulls apart that poem and what the real spiritual meaning is for it, and how we can actually elevate ourselves in our life by being strong and really knowing what's important and the things that we really value. And it's not the 24 roll of toilet paper. And then these two books are my very first Bibles. I read Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, Napoleon Hill, when I was 18 years old. Book completely changed my life at 18. Made me a driven, passionate, ambitious person to succeed in business. And this book is Napoleon Hill. As an introduction by Clement Stone. It's all about positive mental attitude. Basically, this is the precursor for The Secret. This book was written, I think, in like 1918 or something, or 1920 or something like that. And it is, you can see how yellowed it is. This is my third copy I've had. And then the follow-up to that is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. This is every capitalist's Bible. It shows you how to really be successful and create abundance in your life while still having integrity and the law of attraction and attracting all beautiful things in your life. So if you're looking to bring your life to the next level, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, mastermind at positivity. And then we get to, I'm almost done. Hopefully you'll pick one of these books. This book changed my life, really. I was probably at the worst point in my entire life. And I don't even know what I was doing in a bookstore. I really don't remember. But this book basically like fell off the shelf as I walked through the bookstore. And it's written by a Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron, very famous Buddhist nun. And it's called When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. And you can tell this book is so weathered. It's got a lot of bookmarks in it. It's got a lot of, highlighted areas. Just throughout the whole book, this has been I still, when I'm having challenges, I still go to this book, 15 years later. Um, this is a book I bring with me if I ever travel. It's like a Bible. And basically what it is about how to get through really difficult times in your life. And it really, really, really helped me and showed me how to do that. Um, I didn't have a lot of supportive people in my life, and when this book came in, it was all the support I needed. So, When Things Fall Apart, Hard Advice for Difficult Times, Pema Chodron, amazing, amazing Buddhist nun. I would love to study with her, and I had applied to do that, but then they discontinued the program that I wanted. She lives up in this beautiful place in Nova Scotia called Gampo Abbey, and just if you ever can YouTube her videos, Pema Chodron, she's amazing, amazing. I love my Pema. So very inspirational. And this book is by a gentleman called Alberto Villaldo. Alberto Villaldo is a shaman. He brought a lot of the ways of the Queto people from South America. This is called Shaman, Healer, Sage. It's how to heal yourself and others with the energy medicine of the Americas. I have the rites of Muniki, which are 9 shamanistic rites that we take to be a healer. And I actually took the rites of Muniki twice in my life. And Alberto Villaldo is the founder of the Four Winds Society, which is Muniki and a lot of other things that they do there. This book really is about healing and how to heal your life, how to do energy healing. It's about soul retrieval, soul living. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's actually the story of when he went to the South America and actually met the Queto people. He went as a doctor and saw things and had experiences that led him into a spiritual life and knowing about the other worlds. And he was completely scientific, completely, an MD, and did not believe in those things, and then saw things and had experiences that he writes about in the book that are just unbelievable. And so, he was seeing auras and all these things, and it's just an amazing read. And then back into the three-dimensional world, John Bogle, who is the founder and CEO of Vanguard Mutual Funds. You can see there's like a very, my life is a dichotomy of capitalism and spiritualism. I don't know, pretty weird, right? But that's why I have Zen Cuda, because we got to be a little Zen, a little Barracuda. So this book is called Enough, and it's the true measure of money, business, and life. And what this book does is it talks a lot about the stock market and how it works and how finances work, which is really interesting based on what's going on in our present society. But it talks about that against the backdrop of what really is valuable and what really is important in life. And the book is called Enough because it opens up with John Bogle is at a cocktail party, and he, these are very mega rich people in his circle. And he's at a cocktail party and people are bragging about, oh, I just made $10 million, and oh, I just bought a new Gulfstream jet and all these things. And he's in this circle of men who are all posturing with how much they've earned and made. And the anecdote goes that he said, well, I have something that none of you have. And they were like, well, what's that? And he said, I have enough. And what the moral of the story is that we don't need all those things and all that materialism. The real satisfaction that we find is within ourselves and within the values of our life. And it's about how America needs to get back to those values. So that's a really interesting read among the backdrop of what's happening now. I think this book is called Enough by John Bogle. Probably is really ironic right now of what's going on. And then this man changed America, I think. Oprah Winfrey brought Gary Zukov on her show, and he had written The Seed of the Soul, and she found Gary in a cabin in Washington State, and he came on, and the rest is history. I think most of you know who Gary Zukov is. If you don't, you can Google him. You can see how worn this book is, and this is my second copy. This is absolutely a Bible for me. You can see how it's, written in and just everything in here. This man is directed by God. And so if there are any modern day mystics that I emulate or that I really almost think are going to be an ascended master, it's Gary Zukov. He also wrote Spiritual Partnership. which is The Journey of the Authentic Power. Any Gary Zukov book, and they are long reads. They can be a little bit, involved. I would try to do them audibly if you're not really, like attention span. I even have a hard time sometimes with these. You have to really be in concentration. But Seat of the Soul, when Oprah has, and she has him on Soul Sunday, whatever she calls it, oftentimes too. Amazing man. He will explain in very simplistic words what soul is, what afterlife is, and why we are not in our authenticity. And basically, in a nutshell, what his philosophy is, and he brings it to all walks of life, is that the reason why we struggle in life and the reason why we're unhappy is because our personalities are running our life. What we think we want, like I was just talking about John Bogle and, what is enough for all of us. And we're learning that now through the COVID coronavirus. Gary Zukov's teachings are basically that you must align your soul with your life. And unfortunately, most of us live a life that is governed by our personality. What kind of car we want to drive, what kind of dress we want to wear, how many children we want to have, where do we want to live, what does our house look like, oh, the flower bed has to be perfect so the neighbors see it. That's all BS, and it's authority. You're giving authority to things that are fake. None of that really matters. What matters is satisfying your soul and having enough and the valuable things, spending time in love and being love. And so those are the teachings of Gary Zukov. And throughout the years, he's written many books that teach us how to bring that philosophy to our lives, to spiritual partnership, to partnership with others, to a lot of different ways. So I just think any book, YouTube, anything by Gary Zukov will absolutely inspire you during this time. And then this one I just threw in for shits and giggles. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a great book. You can pick this up and just read a chapter if you want. This is, you can see again, I highlight and will do, I'm self-taught in life. Now, I didn't have anybody to show me what to do. So I pretty much had to figure it all out for myself. This book is How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. The second part of it, the How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, there's a chapter 3 is how to break the worry habit before it breaks you. That's great for us right now because it's really about living in the moment and not worrying all the time. So that's really pretty cool, I think. So let me see. I don't know if anybody's watching. I don't think we have any comments, but that's okay. Even if one person watches and is helped by this broadcast, then that's a good thing, right? So, and it also goes into true stories and things like that. It's just a really great inspirational book. So I don't know if anybody is watching, I don't know if anybody out there has a book they would recommend, put it in the comments. We could all use some books. And I hope that you're enjoying this episode of, here I go. John says he's reading The Four Agreements now. Yeah, that's a great book. Denise loves my angel statue. That is behind me. The angel statue that's behind me is a really super special angel statue. She actually has rosary beads on her from the Cathedral of Saint Anne de Beaupré in Quebec, Canada, that I brought from there. That angel is brought into, it's usually here, I'm sitting in my dining room, but that angel is actually brought into my healing room a lot when I do my groups for my cancer ladies and Babylon Breast Cancer Coalition. And for some reason, there's so much healing energy in that statue. It's really interesting. Hi, Felix. Hi, Ron. Hi, John. We got a couple of people watching. So all of these really inspirational books. If I had to pick one that's my favorite, I would say my favorite that I go to in times like when I'm really hurting and I've had a disappointment in my life or something, I pull out the Pema Chodron book, When Things Fall Apart. This particular book just teaches me how to cope with things. It teaches me how to confront my emotions and how to kind of breathe it in. So that's really cool. So if you're having anxiety or fear right now through this pandemic, the worst thing you can do is squash it down, because if you suppress it, it's just going to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. So you want to go with it. You want to flow with it. And then for a light read, books that I just like is the Angel book. the one from Doreen Virtue, Archangels 101. This is a really light read, and when I read it, I kind of feel angels around me, so it really helps me a lot. My favorite angel, of course, is Archangel Michael and also Archangel Samuel. And the thing I kind of like about this book is that when you read it, the way they published it was each angel, when you go into the different angel, each angel has like 4 or 5 pages. They change the color to go with the angel. So it's kind of fun, you know, and that's a very light read. Tonight, I'm actually going to be doing a Facebook Live on Zenkuda Facebook page. And I'm going to be doing that about angels and astrology because I'm also an astrologer. So I'm going to talk about the angel that matches your zodiac sign and what to expect from that. And then the last book I wanted to talk about, I had this on the table, I forgot, is the story of Edgar Cayce, There Is a River. This is a really cool book. It's about the life of Edgar Cayce. For those of you who don't know who he is, Edgar Cayce was a gentleman. There's the Edgar Cayce Institute down in, I think it's North Carolina. Edgar Cayce was someone, they used to call him the sleeping prophet. And what would happen was he would fall asleep, and then when he woke up, he would have prophecies. And many of his prophecies are in this book. Actually, it kind of came true. You know, he would predict things. He was a predicting sleeping prophet. And he also would read books by holding them to his forehead, and he could tell you exactly what was in the book. So an amazing, amazing man. And his life story is very amazing of how he actually had a lot of strife in his life that he overcame, but he never stopped believing in his mission, which he felt was to really do prophecy work. So I don't know if any of you have a favorite book that you would like to do out there, but while we're sequestered in this time, I hope that you all are using the time wisely. Every person that I talk to that's a teacher to me or a friend to me or an advisor to me, whether spiritual or business, all say the same thing. They say stay the course, use this time productively. This time will be over before we know it. It might not seem like that in every moment, but I really do think that it's going to be over before we know it, and then we're going to be like, darn, why didn't I clean out that closet? Why didn't I start a vegetable garden? Why didn't I write a story? Why didn't I figure this out? You know, you can't spend all your time just eating and watching television. So I think that's our broadcast today. So let me know if there's anything. You can always put it in the comments, and I do usually respond. And again, I'm Georgia Rose from Zenkuda, and I am a psychic intuitive astrologer. And if you would like a private reading with me, you can do that on Zenkuda.com. And if you're busy, if you're bored and you want to catch me tonight at 7 o'clock on Zenkuda on Facebook, we're going to be doing a Facebook Live about angels and astrology. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this broadcast, and we'll see you back again soon. Bye-bye.